Hello everybody and welcome to ArtisticZeal Productions. Today we're going to be working with Adobe CS5, Photoshop, and After Effects. So what we're going to do is create 3D text, bring it into After Effects, and animate the text a little bit. So it's going to look a little bit like this. Alright, so as you can see on here, we have some 3D text that we created in Photoshop. It's got some nice little shadows in there, and there's a little bit of movement. You can see the seagull part falls backwards, pushes the show forward, and then it creates a little shadow on that part of the show. On the bottom here I have a little bit of a shadow on there. You can adjust it to whatever you like. Basically it's just a mask of solid black and connected it. The talk show, the Seagull talk show, is also tracked. What we did is the same thing we did for some of the other projects that we have in ArtisticZeal, so check out the website. But just basically track 2 points so that way it looked like the text fell with the movement of the camera. Okay, so let's get started with the text. If you go into Photoshop CS5, you're going to have your go to your text tool, and you're going to type in whatever you'd like. So this one's going to be Seagull. You can see it types it in black. I actually want it in white, so we're going to hit OK. So we have the white text, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create it into 3D. So we go up to our 3D menu here, go to Repousse, go to Text Layer, and it's going to ask us to rasterize it, yes. And this is going to bring up our 3D Repousse menu. Once that comes up, it takes a second. You can see it's already in 3D. So what we're going to do is adjust the shape of the face. You can keep it any way you'd like, but play around with it. There's all kinds of different adjustments. I'm going to pick the center one here. It's going to give us some nice shadows. You also have options for materials. You can change the front, the side, the back, put whatever you'd like. Just click on those. Or if you wanted to add in a brand new material, click on one of those and then select a new material that you might have or pick online. I'm going to keep everything the same. Extrude, so how far back is that 3D bevel going in there? We're going to adjust that because actually 0.5 is significant. When you're working in After Effects, it'll switch around. You'll see that it's pretty depth. The depth on it is pretty deep. So let's move over to our beveled edge here. You can see that you have contour for that bevel. You can adjust in different play around with it. I'm going to select that one. It gives it a little bit more shadow. You can see the difference in there. And then your lighting, make sure that you select the lighting that you want in your After Effects project. You cannot manipulate the lighting after you've done it here in Photoshop, so you're going to go ahead and pick whatever one you want. I'm going to just hit default lights. Kind of gives it a nice reflection there. And then after that, I'm all set. I'm going to hit OK. Now, as you notice in our little production, I have this one moving, that one moving. I didn't do it all in one layer. I separated each one separately. So that way I can manipulate when they're falling, when they're moving. Each one has their own controller. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again. And we're going to put in talk. So if we go back to our text layer, type in talk. And we're going to do the same thing. Go up to our 3D Repousse text layer, raster size, yes. Our 3D window will pop up. We're going to pick again our beveled edge here. I'm going to adjust the size to 0.5 or so, which is fine. Our contour, I'm going to pick that middle one, just gives a little bit more depth. And then our lighting, I'm going to go ahead and click default lights. And that'll give us a similar look, and hit OK. So you're going to do it one more time for show. Same process. The one thing I want you to notice here that we're going to come back to, if you go up to our 3D window, click on 3D. I had that open already. Go to 3D window, and you'll see our render settings. Okay. The one thing that you're going to look at is the quality. Right now, the quality of it's a little bit pixelated. It looks kind of rough, but it makes it really easy to work with when you're in After Effects. So when you bring that into After Effects, do all your editing, your movements, everything done, and then once you're ready to render it out, you're going to come back and adjust the settings of the quality to Ray Trace Draft. The thing about that is that it's going to take a long time to process. Once it does though and renders through, it'll look really, really sharp, really, really good. Okay, so once you're done with that, let's move on over to After Effects. You're going to go to File, save it, make it whatever you like, a PSD file. I already have one in there. Hit OK. Is going to bring that over. So let's jump over to After Effects. Now in After Effects, I have my footage that I already took. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the text files. You're going to go to File, Import. One thing that you want to make sure you do when you hit File and Import is going to ask you what kind of import is it. If you don't have it on composition, you have it in footage, make sure you change it to composition. Also, your edible layers, you want to also make sure it's live Photoshop 3D. If that's not checked on there, make sure you check that. Hit OK. And that's going to bring in your file. Now, I'm going to go ahead and double click on my file here, and it's going to bring up in a new tab, and you can see I have the Seagul talk show. It's going to have the 3 different compositions on here. We're going to go into each one and bring those over to our main composition so we can add them on here. Okay, so if we start off with the Seagul one, double click on that, it'll open into a new tab. You'll see that it'll say Seagul, there's a camera, there's a Seagul controller, and then you have the Seagul text. Very important, that controller is how you're going to manipulate your 3D in your composition. So you want to make sure that you bring both of those in. So you're going to shift and click, double click to copy, hit Control copy, Control C, and we're going to go back in here and we're going to paste it. So that's going to bring in our text. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with the other two. So you double click on that, copy those, paste them. Last one, and there's show. Okay, so we have our 3 texts in there. The other thing that we want to do is we're going to track this portion here. So what we're going to go is up to layer, new null object, and then I'm going to bring that close to our footage here. I'm going to click on our footage, same tracking information that we did last time. We're going to go to track motion. We're going to select position and rotation. I'm going to pick 2 spots on there. It likes some contrast, so we're going to pick, let's say I pick this little spot here, and then I go and pick this little spot over here. And now I'm going to track forward here. All right, so now we're going to edit our target. We're going to put it to our null object, hit OK, and then we're going to apply it, X and Y values, hit OK, and now it'll track that motion. Now the thing that you want to track is going to be the controllers for each one of those. So if you go to each controller, pick the null object on there, null object, and the null object. Those are our 3D layers. You can see the little 3D box on there. You're going to go ahead and manipulate each one. You're going to move. This one says the show controller. You're going to bring your drop down arrow, go to transform. You're going to move the position over. So bring it down. See, it's a little bit slow. And then I'm going to move it over. Not too far. Right about there. Okay. Also the scale, I'm going to bring that up. Let's see. Bring it down. Move it over. Because I'm going to be running out of time, guys, here, I'm going to quickly show you how to move this in 3D, and then where you need to go to visually appealing. Okay, and scale. Now for this example, I have this footage where I have a wall and then the Seagul title falls back behind the talk show, behind the wall, lands in the water, splashes up water. Some of the materials that are on that, you can see there'll be a little bit of dust that comes up, and then there's a splash. So there's a little dust. That's from Action Essentials Video Copilot. And then when it falls back, lands in the water, big splash, same thing, Video Copilot. So if you need to get those or find them on YouTube. If you want to get the footage here, I have it on Pond 5. I put it for $2, so that way it helps helps fund the cause, helps me continue making these little fun shows, and helps for the next project, which is a Star Wars fan film. Okay, if you are interested in using it for a DVD menu or to try out this tutorial, please donate to the cause and Pond 5. All right, so back to our seagull here. If you want to control or make it look like it's falling behind the wall, what I did is I took the original footage and I duplicated it. So if you hit Control D, and then what I did was I masked it out. So I got the pen tool and put a mask around the edge here. So that way, I'm going to move that up above the seagull portion. So when that seagull controller moves down, it'll look like it's falling behind. If I move the position, if I move it down, it'll look like it's falling behind the talk show and behind the wall. So you can see it's gone. If I don't have that wall on there, or I do that second mask to duplicate that wall, you can see it'll pop up in the front, so it'll be in front of the wall. So that way you have that, you mask it out and it looks like it's falling behind, okay? Now, if we wanted to make it look like it's falling backwards, when you go to your controller here for Seagull control, you're going to manipulate the X, Y, and Z. So what we're going to do is we're going to go somewhere in the middle here, and you're going to put a keyframe. I like to just pick them all. I'm going to click away, and then I'm going to go over to our rotation here. So you go to the X value, and then you're going to spin it a little bit. So you're going to go, well, let's say it was 13. You can see it starts to rotate over. So once I have it start rotating, I'm also going to move the Y so it's kind of falling towards the side. And then the other thing you can do is your scale. So adjust your scale. It's at 179. I'm going to move it to, let's say 176. It shrinks the size a little bit, so it looks like it's falling away from you. Now, your page up and page down button on your keyboard, if you hit page down twice, it'll go down a couple of frames, and then you're going to move it again. So we're going to do our X again to tilt it. Same thing with the Y. I'm going to tilt it a little bit more. And same thing with the scale. I'm going to bring it down to 174. And then we're going to also move the position. So let's bring that guy down. I'm going to go page down a couple more. I'm going to tilt it a little bit more on the X. And I'm going to bring it down some more in the position. So now it just depends how fast you want it to go. And there it falls behind. So you can see you have a layer in the front, you got these two in the front, and then that seagull just falls behind. So look, the title looks like it just falls back there. If we want to see what that kind of looks like, I'm going to adjust the scale, the size here where we're working, so that way you can see. Okay, as soon as it goes through, you can see it falls right behind. Boom. All right. So that's how you manipulate your 3D text to move around. Then you can add your splash afterwards. Basically, it's just again from Video Copilot. You bring that underneath the Seagull port title, and then you're going to add that splash on there. Okay. So now that we added this water here, we're going to adjust when it splashes. So as soon as it hits, as soon as that little the title falls back in there, we can add the little splash. Okay, so you get the idea. You can adjust the size, make it wider, color it in, but it really gives you that look of manipulation once it goes through. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to show you about adjusting that Seagull title. So we're going to click on the text itself, and then we're going to hit Control E. I think it's Apple E on the Mac. And that's going to bring us back to our Photoshop. Now, the Seagul section that we selected here, we're going to go ahead and pick that Seagul. Where is it? And then quality, you see we had it on interactive. I'm going to go to ray trace draft. You're going to click on that. And it's going to take a little bit of time as it processes through. You can see that it's adjusting it and it's looking a little bit cleaner, a lot cleaner actually. Once it's done, file save. Let's go back to our After Effects, and then over here on the Seagul, do you see how that wire draft is? We're going to go to full resolution. So you're going to click on that, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but it'll start to think and process. Now take a look at how the detail is right now, and just give it a little second. Give it a second. There, as you can see, it's a lot more detailed. Difference, you can see the S on here compared to this one. A lot more defined, better shadows, just makes it look really clean. But the problem again is it just takes a while to process, especially when you start to render out your final project. It's going to take a little while to get through. But that basically is it, guys. That's how you can manipulate your text in there. You're going to be using those controllers, and then your footage, you're going to be adjusting it. You're tracking your shot so that way it looks like it's in your picture. So your final shot should look something like this. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to Artistic Zeal's YouTube channel for more fun projects and tutorials that are coming up. Thanks again. See you next time.